Governor Matawale of Zamfara State warns against sabotage and calls for intensified prayer. Sharia Council calls on governors in the country to emulate Sanwo-Olu. Dangote promises to establish 600-bed isolation center at Sani Abacha Stadium. On business, Royal Exchange is to promote agricultural insurance. On sport, Juventus players have agreed to donate 4 months' wages to complement Italy's fight against the coronavirus pandemic. And on the international scene, Spain death toll hit 7,340 on coronavirus. Welcome to Standard Voice Television News. My name is Samira Ibrahim. Now the news in full. Governor Bello Mohammed Matawale has warned against any sabotage to the lockdown rule placed by the state government aimed at protecting the inflow of the dreaded coronavirus into the state. Governor Matawale handed down the warning in the wake of outcry that some officials entrusted with the responsibility of enforcing the government's decision are deliberately working against it for their personal gains. The governor made this call just as he equally admonished all citizens in the state to intensify prayers so that God Almighty will have mercy upon us and mitigate the pandemic from becoming an epidemic worldwide. Governor Matawale further reiterated that the shutdown in the state is for an initial period of 2 weeks, which can be relaxed or reviewed with the most stringent measures depending on the observable development in the state within this period. Governor Matawale then advised all those entrusted with the responsibility of enforcing the measures decided upon to curtail the spread of the coronavirus to be harnessed, more committed and patriotic in the discharge of this warrior's responsibility. The Supreme Council for Sharia in Nigeria has called on governors and other leaders at all levels to emulate Lagos State government in distributing food and sanitary items to the populace during the lockdown. The Council, in a statement issued by its Secretary General, Nafi Ubala Ahmed, on Sunday in Kaduna, said all the affected countries across the globe took the measures in spite of their higher socio-economic standard. According to the statement, Allah has enjoined the privilege among us to cater for the needy, thus, and spend something in charity, out of the substance which we bestow on you before that could come. The Council also advised all Muslims to be law-abiding as all the steps taken by the government to curb the pandemic are for the betterment of the citizenry. Members of the Nigerian Governors Forum met Sunday to deliberate on the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. The NGF chairman and the Ekiti State Governor briefed state governors on various state-level coordination with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, the private sector through the Food, Beverages and Pharmaceutical Association led by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, as well as the MTN Foundation and the donor group led by MAS, Aliko Dangote and Habat Wigi. Governors also reviewed an update from the Minister of Health, Dr. Esagi Ihanire, and the Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, Dr. Chike Ehewezu, on the federal government effort to stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus, as well as plans to increase the capacity of states to improve testing and care for COVID-19 cases. The governors resolved to ensure that there is seamless movement of essential commodities throughout the country during this period of the lockdown. The NGF Secretariat will provide a framework for the movement of essential services to all the state governments. To strengthen private sector-led support for the COVID-19 pandemic, the Nigerian Governors Forum Secretariat will serve as the coordination mechanism by tracking the COVID-19 essential needs of all states, including equipment for contact tracing, sample collection, diagnosis, and treatment. The NGF Secretariat is to work with the National Economic Council Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19 to examine the impact of the pandemic on both the federal and state governments and has recommended a set of actions to manage the crisis. Members strongly emphasized the need for stronger collaboration between the Federal Ministry of Health, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, and the state ministries of health to strengthen preventive measures and the health response to the pandemic. Members also agreed to hold weekly teleconference meetings to receive regular updates from all states and maintain a coordinated response to the pandemic. A renowned businessman, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, has promised to establish an isolation center within the Kano Sani Abacha Stadium. Alhaji Aliko Dangote made the pledge in a message he sent during the inauguration of a fundraising committee set up to provide succor to the less privileged in Kano State. According to Aliko Dangote, the isolation center will be established to complement the 2 centers meant for quarantine in case of any eventuality. Kano State is yet to record any positive case of COVID-19. As part of efforts to help stem the tide of the coronavirus, President Muhammadu Buhari has asked all Nigerian governors to nominate doctors and nurses in their state who will join the federal government's drive to combat the deadly COVID-19. President Buhari, who disclosed this in a live broadcast on Sunday, March 29, 2020, also said that his government has created a presidential task force, PTF, to develop a workable national response strategy that is being reviewed on a daily basis as a requirement change. So far, in Lagos and Abuja, the government had recruited 100 ad hoc staff to man the call centers and support the tracing and testing efforts. The president also requested through the Nigerian Governors Forum for all state governments to nominate doctors and nurses who will be trained by the NCDC and Lagos state government on tactical and operational response to the virus in case it spreads to other states. He noted that this strategy takes international best practices but adopts them to suit nations' unique local circumstances. The president further stated that the goal is to ensure all states have the right support and manpower to respond immediately there is an emergency. According to President Buhari, the training will also include medical representatives from the armed forces, paramilitary and security, as well as intelligence agencies. The president stressed that the nation's response to the virus must be guided systematically and professionally, adding that there is a need for consistency across the nation. He assured Nigerians that all inconsistencies in policy guidelines between federal and state agencies will be eliminated. Kwara State Governor Abdulrahman Abdulrazak on Sunday rallied support for the state campaign to keep coronavirus pandemic out of the state. The governor also announced the donation of 10% of his 10-month salary to his administration's effort to prevent the spread of COVID-19. He said though the state has no confirmed case of coronavirus as at now, we have been taking every step necessary to ensure we keep Kwara safe. The governor said such measures have included keeping the people at home while we ramp up investment in our capacity to cope with this global health emergency. He said this time calls for sacrifice from everyone as humanity needs all the help it can get. The governor also commended members of the Federal Executive Council, FEC, for donating half their monthly salary to the national effort to fight the virus. He singled out Alhaji Lai Mohammed and Senator Bemisola Saraki, who are both ministers, for their roles in the humanitarian gesture. The governor appealed to all well-meaning corporate bodies and individuals to emulate these great Nigerians by joining their efforts in Kwara State to donate to the Kwara State Technical Committee on Coronavirus. He said people can also donate foodstuffs for release to the poor people to further ease their campaign to keep the virus out of Kwara State. The governor directed the Technical Committee on COVID-19 to begin distribution of palliatives, including food items to the people this week, even as he calls on everyone to stay at home and stay safe and maintain social distancing. The President, Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, Reverend Samson Ayokunle on Sunday, urged Nigerians not to be afraid in order to overcome the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Reverend Ayokunle, who doubles as the president of Nigerian Baptist Convention (NBC), also narrated how he escaped plane crash recently while in the United States on his way back home. The cleric made these disclosures in his online Sunday sermon titled Conquer Your Fear, taken from the Gospel of Matthew chapter 14 verses 22 to 33, where he charged people not to be afraid of the coronavirus, flag in order to overcome it. He said Jesus Christ worked on the raging water to show that the raging water is under his control and God rides on storms as his host. He explained that whenever he was traveling by air and there was a storm, he could say, "Father, thank you for demonstrating your power here again." The federal government has drawn up a stimulus package to cushion the impact of the dreaded coronavirus disease. Under the stimulus plan, federal government will reintroduce the 2012 corporate tax exemption of profits under granting job creation tax rebates for employers. Also contained in the stimulus plan will be the acceleration of construction of over 700 kilometers of roads and bridges under road infrastructure tax credit scheme. Others are promoting consumer spending, fiscal strategies and policies, accelerating ease of doing business related fiscal reforms. These were contained in a statement by the social advisor to the Minister of Finance, Mr. Yunus Atanko Abdullahi. The finance minister was quoted to have said that the fiscal policy coordination will review sectors that are eligible for pioneer tax holiday incentives under industrial development tax income relief. Other reviews to be made include review of fiscal incentives under the National Automobile Policy, review of process and approvals of impact duty exemption certificates, tax expenditure studies, and evaluation of current suite of fiscal incentives. The stimulus package is contained in the Nigerian proposed integrated policy framework. To get the buy-up of the legislature, the finance minister solicited for the support and cooperation of the Senate and House of Representatives to meet the emerging national emergency posed by COVID-19 and the oil price decline. According to the finance minister, the framework is to be complemented by the fiscal stimulus package to cushion the impact of the crisis on the most vulnerable individuals and communities, financed by concessional borrowings as well as fiscal policy reforms to rationalize tax expenditures. Other components of the framework include implementing the Finance Act 2019 and proposing a Finance Bill 2020 and other key economic-related laws to institutionalize the reforms. The finance minister also raised the points about key issues and challenges in achieving sustainable, inclusive, and diversified growth and development. The Director General of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, Mr. Chikwe Ehekwezu, said the agency was working to track about 6,000 people who have been in contact with persons who tested positive to COVID-19. Premium Times reported how a total of 111 people have been tested positive to the virus as at Sunday night, according to the NCDC. Mr. Ehekwezu spoke on Monday morning on Channels Television several hours after President Muhammadu Buhari addressed Nigerians about the disease and the administration's efforts to combat it. President Buhari, as part of measures to check the spread of the disease, announced a lockdown of Lagos and Abuja, the two most affected states by the virus, as well as Ogun due to its proximity to Lagos. Currently, Lagos has 68 cases, Abuja 21, Ogun 3, Ekiti 1, Oyo 7, Osun 2, Enugu 2, Edo 2, Bauchi 2, while Benue, Kaduna and Rivers have 1 case respectively. Health Minister Professor Osagi Ehanuri, hours after the president's speech, said the lockdown will allow the government to trace those who have been in contact with those who have tested positive to COVID-19. Mr. Ehekwezu reiterated a similar view, adding that the confirmed COVID-19 cases are expected to rise. Mr. Ehekwezu said in the short term, the numbers of the confirmed cases of COVID-19 are expected to keep rising, but the NCDC is expected to be able to get on the top of the situation. We'll be right back after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Coronavirus or COVID-19, the most recent outbreak that has turned to be a global pandemic. Watch how it easily and quickly spreads among humans.
that you can save your life and save the lives of many others by keeping yourself and your environment clean. As part of your civic responsibilities, you should help the government to maintain a clean environment in its determined effort to prevent any outbreak of coronavirus COVID-19 in the states for your own safety. You should ensure regular washing of your hands with soap under running water or use sanitizer. Avoid body contact and avoid big gathering of people. In case you notice any symptoms of coronavirus, like difficulties in breathing, high body temperature, running nose, feverish condition, you should immediately contact any member of the contact committee on the outbreak of coronavirus COVID-19 on the following numbers: 081 65 40 86 96, 081 05 00 988, or 080 63 03 53 85. A stitch in time, they say, saves life.
This message is from Standard Voice Television, Svtv, Seoul, Zamfara State, Nigeria.
Welcome back on Business Over to Rita.
Audio Jungle.
Welcome to Standard Voice Business Update. With a $10 million equity investment by a German firm in Royal Exchange General Insurance Company Limited, a subsidiary of Royal Exchange plc, the company has registered its presence as a key global financial investment in Africa and a strong player in the emerging climate change insurance market for agriculture in Nigeria. The managing director of the company, Mr. Benjamin Agley, who spoke during a media panel in Lagos, said the inventor of the German Development Bank is boosting agriculture on the continent. He stated that climate change or weather risks like flooding, droughts, among others, remain one of the prime plugging smallholders farmers. He said 85% of the farming population comprises these vulnerable smallholders farmers groups. It therefore, he said, became imperative for Royal Exchange to use insurance to promote business and community relations to the agricultural sector and rural finance ecosystem to avert the scourge of food shortage, food security issues, unemployment, and a host of other associated problems that can affect the wider economy from the impact of not ensuring agricultural production against climate change period over the long term. He said it was the early foray in the agricultural insurance space and impressive work on the development, distribution, and sales of climate risk protection products for smallholders farmers under the acquisitions of its index-based agricultural insurance solution that attracted interest from the KFW to the company. He said the LF investment, being of social impact natures, comes with the trapping of technical assistance facilities to aid the company in scaling up her agribusiness risk portfolio, alongside driving a social impact mandate of providing insurance inclusion to a minimum of 1 million smallholders farmers by the 2025. Still on business news. Similarly, the Heritage Bank plc says it has taken steps to offer seamless online service to its customers, while ensuring the health and safety of their workers and others at the workplace. The bank said the measures are to minimize the risks arising from the disease known as COVID-19 and ensure that the payment infrastructure and logistics to maintain operation going as various state governments brace up for lockdown to contain the pandemic. The bank's management in a statement explained that part of its business continuity management initiating from Heritage Bank Corporation strategy was to guarantee seamless service delivery to the various stakeholders. And that measures to tackle significant business risks that might have growth impact on the economy, with taking reasonable practical steps to minimize the risks. And that is all on Standard Voice Business Update. Until I come your way again, I'm Agua Rita.
On spot, over to Sufyan.
Hello, welcome to Standard Voice Television Sports Room. My name is Abu Sufyan Abakar, and as usual, I bring the sports updates. Despite the hard times the world is facing right now, it is still our responsibility to ensure that you have smiles on your faces. The UEFA president considers that the 2019-2020 season could be lost due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Alexandra Cheferin explained that if for some reasons seasons will not restart by the end of June, the only alternative left will be to void all competitions across Europe. The 2019-2020 season has been suspended indefinitely across most of Europe due to the global pandemic caused by the virus, which has hit Europe very hard, with Italy and Spain recording the highest death tolls in the world. While most of the leagues are hoping to restart between April and June, the UEFA president raised issues that the leagues could be declared null and voided. He added that UEFA and the FAs of most European countries are committed to ensure that the leagues and other competition will be completed in Europe. He said there is a plan A, plan B and plan C to make that happen. But should in case for some reasons UEFA and the FAs could not meet up with the deadline by the end of June, the competitions will be declared void and nulled, and preparation will be made towards starting the 2020-2021 seasons. And still on the COVID-19 sports update, Juventus players and staff have agreed to take a pay cut for 4 months to help Juventus and Italy as a nation tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. However, there is a clause in place that will renegotiate their wages after the whole COVID-19 pandemic is all over. As said last week in our sports news, football players and other sporting figures have been dominating and contributing huge sum of amounts to help tackle the COVID-19 issues across the world. It's still the same thing as more clubs in England and Germany and other parts of Europe have continued with this donation, with most notably Liverpool FC donating €7 million to continue the fight against COVID-19 in the United Kingdom. And that's all we have on sports today. Back to the newsroom.
And on the international scene.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Spain confirmed another 812 deaths in 24 hours from the coronavirus on Monday, bringing the total number of deaths to 7,340, according to Health Ministry figures. It is the first decline in the number of deaths in a 24-hour period since Thursday in Spain, which has world's second most deadly outbreak after Italy. Spain recorded 838 virus deaths on Sunday. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Governor Matoli of Svtv State once again sabotage and calls for intensified prayer. Sharia Council calls on governors in the country to emulate Samuel Omo. Dangote promises to establish 600-bed isolation center at Sani Abacha Stadium. On business, Royal Exchange is to promote agricultural insurance. On sport, Juventus players have agreed to donate 4 months' wages to complement Italy's fight against the coronavirus pandemic. And on the international scene, Spain death toll hit 7,340 on coronavirus. That's the news on behalf of the production crew, head of news and current affairs, Ibrahim Kabutu. I am Samira Ibrahim, wishing you a pleasant